Hi friends, Janet the Moline Library here. Hopefully you've already signed up for our Teen Summer Reading Program, but if not, please visit our website at www.molinelibrary.com/summerreading. There you'll find all of the links for registering and printing your materials, or you can come into the library to pick them up. You'll also find links for signing up for our programs. Today we're going to be making the Kool-Aid Rock Candy, which is our second activity for the summer. The first step is to soak your candy stick. Now to do this, I am simply going to put my candy stick into a jar of water. We want to make sure that the whole bottom part, the part that is going to have the crystals forming to it, are soaking. We're going to want to let that soak for about 30 minutes. We want to make sure that the wood is fully saturated before we move on to the next step. All right, we've left this soaking for quite a while and it is pretty thoroughly wet. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to take some sugar and I'm just going to sprinkle it, a little bit of it, onto a plate. And then I'm going to take my stick and I'm just going to roll it around in the sugar until it's completely coated, like so. And then I'm going to wait for that to dry completely before I move on to the next step. Welcome back, friends. Now that our stick with the sugar on it has had a chance to completely dry, we're going to move on to the next step. I do highly recommend that you have an adult help with this next step, as it does require the use of the stove. We are going to take 1 cup of water, and we are going to add in 1 cup of sugar to start with. And we're going to stir that all together. And then we are going to heat it up until it comes to a boil. This might take a little while, so bear with me. All right, it's starting to boil now. Let's give you a quick look at that. So it's starting to boil. So what I'm going to do next is add in some more sugar. I'm going to start with 1/2 cup and wait for that to dissolve. And then I'm going to keep adding sugar 1/2 cup at a time until I can't get any more in. And you'll know that you have as much sugar as you possibly can when it won't dissolve anymore. So just keep adding the sugar 1/2 cup at a time until you can't add any more. You'll want to have at least 2 cups in there. It might take more, might take like 2.5 cups, 3, but let's aim to have at least 2 full cups in there. And then when you can't add any more, we'll remove it from the heat and we're going to let that cool for about 10 minutes. We don't want it to be too hot when it goes into the jar, or it will dissolve all of those crystal sugars that are already on the stick and we won't have that good start to it like we hope to have. So the next step, once our sugar water has had a chance to cool a little bit, is to put the Kool-Aid packet into our jar. And then again, with the parents' help, carefully pour the sugar water into the jar with the Kool-Aid in it. Unfortunately, I had some technical difficulties, which is to say I didn't press record, and I already did this step when I wasn't recording. So I apologize for that. But again, just empty the Kool-Aid packet into the jar with an adult's help, pour the sugar water in, and then stir it up. You might find, depending on the size of your jar, that you have a little extra sugar water that doesn't fit all the way in. That's okay. If you've got it all in and it doesn't come all the way to the top, that is okay too. So just go ahead and pull it in until it's, either you have it all in or it's close to the top, and then stir it. And you'll find that it should be pretty thick when you're stirring it up. And after that, the next step is to wait. Yet again, you're going to wait until it is close to room temperature, which means that when you touch your cup or your jar, that it is not particularly hot to the touch. Maybe a little warm, but not hot. And that will be when we're ready for the next step, probably another 10 or 15 minutes. All right, well, this has had a chance to cool down. I'm going to give it one more stir, just to make sure everything is nice and there. All right, and then we're going to take the stick and we're going to put it into the jar, but we do not want it to go all the way down to the bottom. So I'm just going to go down and then come back up a little bit, and then I'm going to use the the clothespin to hold it in place. And my clothespin isn't quite long enough to be completely centered, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and I'll show you what that's going to look like. So there we have it. You can't see because obviously the Kool-Aid's in there, but the stick is a little bit, about a ½ an inch off of the bottom, and then the clothespin is holding it up into place. And then of course the next step is to wait. So what we're going to do is I'm going to cover this with a paper towel, and then I'm going to check on it every couple of days, and if there's sugar crystals forming across the top of it, I'm just going to break those up very gently. That way, when I go to take it out, it won't be solid. I'm also going to, other than that though, just kind of leave it alone, just break up those crystals. So I will check in every couple of days and show you the progress, and hopefully you will be having great luck too. Okay, it's been a couple of days now, and you can see that there are some little crystals forming at the bottom. That's what we don't want to have connected to the stick, so that's why the stick is up a little ways. I don't see any sugar crystals forming at the top, so I'm just going to put my paper towel back on and let it go for a little while. Well, folks, I'm sad to report that my attempts at making rock candy were not exactly successful. It's been about 10 days and I don't have any hint at all of crystals there. So my guess would be that first of all, I probably did not add enough sugar. I probably should have waited until there was sugar just literally on the bottom of the pan and nothing more could go in. So make sure that you are getting as much sugar into your mixture as possible. The other thing I might have not done well enough is to stir it, to make sure that that sugar was completely, dissolved when I put it with the Kool-Aid packet. Because I did notice that there's a lot of settlement here on the bottom. So that's my advice for you. Make sure that you put in as much sugar as possible and make sure it is stirred and stirred and stirred before you get your stick in there to let it sit. I hope you have much more success than I did. Whether you do or not, I would love to see pictures of your attempts and send them to Moline Library teens@gmail.com, and I hope you're having a great summer.